Joining me now on the show to share more about this year's forum and what will be explored is Trust Manager Josiah Pa. Good morning.
Kia ora. Kia ora. How are you this morning?
I am doing very well, and I'm excited about this because this sounds like something, I'll be completely honest, I hadn't heard about this until now.
Yeah, we like to think we're the best kept secret, but we want to take that lid off and let people know what we stand for, what we're about, and get this secret out into the public space. Yeah.
Let's tell the whole world. Well, let's talk about the Aspiring Leaders Forum. What is special about this 4-day gathering of aspiring leaders?
Look, you mentioned before it's on faith and values and servant leadership, and we talk about this idea that who you are is how you'll lead, and it's a powerful time to reflect on your own story and your own formation, kind of like a warrant of fitness for young people. We're dealing with 18 to 26-year-olds, people in that time of life when they're asking big questions about who they want to be, what do they stand for, and we throw them in the deep end of going to Parliament on that first day.
Really?
Yeah, and
wow.
They come suited and booted and ties and looking their best, and meeting with politicians and spending time in their offices, and it's this amazing moment where you realize, oh my goodness, I'm sitting in the beehive having a state dinner, often hearing from a governor general or a former prime minister, and you think this has got to be the pinnacle of all things leadership. But because we also contrast that with service, it's not just about...
Hang on, some foot washing of the politicians?
We haven't ruled that out.
That's a bit weird.
But what we...
Not for us, but for them.
What we do is we in the subsequent days, we go to Petone Beach and, imagine 200 young leaders flooding this beach to pull weeds, to pick up rubbish, to plant trees, to regenerate, because it's all about regeneration. It's all about getting your hands in the dirt, because it's that tension, because leadership is both the standing on platforms, but it's also putting your hands in the dirt.
Yeah, and being prepared to do things
absolutely
that no one else will do. And I like what you said before about these young people need to figure out what they stand for, because a popular expression is if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything, right?
Absolutely.
Or fall for everything. And that's really interesting, because you said they're 18 to sort of 24-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Young people who perhaps have been confronted with a strange world over the last few years, a world like we haven't seen before, with the global pandemic and borders shutting, isolation, the rise of digital technology to the point where it's digital first and often the face-to-face interactions don't happen. So, how do you navigate that? Have you seen a change in the Aspiring Leaders Forum in terms of what you guys do over the last, let's say, 10 years?
Look, I think that in an ever-changing world, there's certain things that don't change, and so we change our methods around the conversation and the way that we introduce leadership into that space. And if anything, we do such a broad program which includes things from barn dance to sports, because we recognize that not everybody just sits in that space and wants to just twiddle their thumbs. What we want is to really engage people in a way that is innovative and taking them out of their comfort zone. And leadership in sport is as valid as being in like a boardroom. And so we're trying to get people to just get to that point where they're constantly thinking about where leadership outworks itself and how it outworks itself. So we treat it like a warrant of fitness. We all have what we need, but is it lined up in the right way? Have you focused on your values? Do you know what you stand for? And if you haven't considered that, how do you walk through that space safely? And our facilitators are amazing. We do about 9 hours of small group time in the course of the weekend from Thursday to Sunday.
I'm glad it's not in a row.
Yeah.
I think some kids would probably,
even
like the best leadership,
out,
focused children would lose their attention span after 9 hours. But that sounds great, the way you're balancing it in. You did mention that you've got some pretty incredible people that come along. So I know in the past you've had the Right Honourable Bill English, Dame Jenny Shipley, and David Latelli. So who else have you got lined up? Anyone specific this year that you can name drop?
So we keep that under wraps.
Ooh, okay.
Like it's one of the things that we want people to come because of leadership first and foremost, and not because they're enamored by the names of the people. Because
you don't want them coming just to get a selfie with so and so.
Oh, exactly. Because if you buy into that kind of culture of the celebrity leader, then perhaps you count yourself out. And I really think that we've all got to count ourselves into leadership. We've got to think of, from leadership in family to leadership in all spaces, and to get people to just really ascend that we need great leaders across Aotearoa. And so every young person that attends the forum has to be nominated to attend.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about this because it's unique in that people can get involved, but there's a particular way they need to go about it. So let's talk about that process.
Yeah, look, so the process of doing the nominated approach, what it does for our young leaders is it causes them to understand that somebody believes in them, somebody has seen potential in them, someone has said, I want to invest in you. So they submit an application to us through the website. And then we go back to them and we say, hey, by the way, you've been nominated by this person in your world.
Wow.
So uni lecturers, business owners, parents, people who have gone out of their way to recognize great leadership.
Okay, so if you see someone aged between 18 and 24, and you think that they would make a great leader, you can actually nominate them by going to the webpage.
Yeah. So you can go on to aspiringleaders.org.nz. And on there, there's a QR code, and it takes you to our nominations page, and it just gives you the ability to recognize some of those young people in your sphere of influence and go, you would be great. I think you would benefit so much from just thinking about leadership and to frame your worldview in this space. And and it says, like I said before, it really does a lot for the heart of a young person.
Absolutely. I can imagine that there are a lot of pastors or people in church leadership listening right now that might know of some young people in their youth groups, or maybe even young youth group leaders who would just be great candidates for this. So before we wrap up, when do they need to get their nominations in by, and we'll send them to the website?
Yes, the nominations are open now. They're open through till May, and so don't hang out too long. As I said, there's only 105 spaces.
Wow!
And so we've opened those nominations up now, and church leaders, business owners, sports clubs. If you have young people that you interact with, get in and nominate them, because that investment is really worthwhile.
Great idea. Well, if you have someone in mind, you can go to aspiringleaders.org.nz. You've got 2 months to do it until May. Aspiringleaders.org.nz is the place to go. And thank you so much, Josiah, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Amazing. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss the next video.
We'll see you in the next one.